All right. You're not getting sick because it's cold outside. You're getting sick because your body's defenses are asleep. And today we're going to wake them up and we're going to show you how you can get vibrant health naturally and be strong before the flu season hits full force. If you've ever felt like you catch every bug that goes around once the cold weather hits, this episode is for you. And we're going to dive into it right after this. Welcome, everybody. This is the Life Enthusiast Health Shots podcast, restoring vitality to you and the planet. I am your co-host, Scott Patton. Joining me, as usual, is health engineer Martin Patella. Hey, Martin, how are you doing today?
Doing good. Well, sort of. I'm challenged in some ways, but what the heck?
Hi, George. Good to see you here.
Yeah, hey, George.
Buckle up, Buttercup.
I wanted to say something. You know, Scott, you just said in the intro some words, and I thought, well, maybe different. In this way, I think that when your nose is running or when your sinuses are dripping, it's your body's method of dumping out toxins that it couldn't get rid of some other way. And I think it has to do with the onset of cold weather because your blood is sort of thickening in a way, right? Like we're running a different regime. The season is changing. And I think the body's preparing for it. And I think a good policy would be start sauna.
Start a sauna.
The damn thing off. Get into hot yoga.
Yeah, I would agree. And I would say, too, that you've hit on a really good point, and that is the words that we speak have tremendous power. Oh, I'm so tired, Martin. I'm tired today. I don't want to do a live stream. As opposed to, and of course, I have the flu. I have a cold. It's a flu. I always get a flu. I always get a cold.
Yeah.
And whereas, and one of the things I've really noticed in me, thanks to you, is I reframed some of that stuff. And it's like, okay, now I have a cold, my nose is dripping, my throat is sore, my body is getting rid of toxins, right?
Yeah.
And I really believe that's the case. As before, I just thought, well, I have a cold, I have some virusy thing or bacteria or whatever going nuts. And it does make a huge difference in your attitude. And one of the things that also happens is if you do a detox, like if you're watching us and listening to us, you should be doing detoxes. And one of the best ones is fulvic or humic acid, right?
Yeah.
And as I've mentioned a few times, I got a bottle. And I'm used to having a bottle with a dropper. So I would just put like 5 drops in once or twice a day. But I have a bottle. So what do you do with a bottle?
Oh.
So yesterday I felt awful. And I'm going, what is going on? Why do I feel so bad? As I reached into the fridge to grab this bottle of humic acid, right? I thought, oh, maybe I had just a little bit too much yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, you facilitate an overwhelming response.
Yeah. So this brings up a good question, Martin. Should you like detox and feel awful? And are you getting that stuff out? Or should you back off and just take less so that you don't have that, oh God, I feel like I have the flu feeling?
Yeah. I remember, I think the year was 1991, and I became a full-time raw food vegetarian. Back then, I was still experimenting on myself. And about 3 weeks in, it started. And it felt as though somebody attached a garden hose tap to my face right here and left it unopened. Like, here I am working in an office, suit and tie and the works, and I'm running to the washroom or kitchen every maybe 5-10 minutes to just blow my nose because it was incessantly dripping,
Right.
and I could not possibly catch it into tissues because I would rub my nose raw, right? Like it would
Right.
just turn into this red beet, Rudolph the red nose attachment. So I was just blowing my nose and not into paper tissues. Anyway, just very, very literal. 3 weeks of that. 3 weeks it kept going and going and going. And then finally it was done.
So what you're saying is I could be drinking these bottles and I'll feel bad for a week, maybe a day, a week, 3 weeks, a month, and then eventually it'll be gone because everything.
Yeah. So I tell people who are in the detox phase saying, well, you have two possibilities. One, you can slow it down by taking less of what's triggering it and drinking more water. And the other is, damn the torpedoes, push through it.
Push through it. I backed off, just so you know.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, why suffer? Suffering is strictly optional.
That's a really good point. Suffering is optional. And so to move on to another segue before we get into the whole flu thing, because it is somewhat related.
Yeah.
I got an email today, and I think I sent you the link to the article that was in the email. And this fella basically said, I am removing myself from social media. I may post some stuff, but it's going to be cat memes. He feels like we are going into a season of huge censorship, which is really interesting to hear him say that, because I feel we just came out of a season of pretty bad censorship, and all of a sudden things that you and I could not say without being banned or deleted or all the rest of it, we've been sort of able to say recently.
Yeah, Scott, slight segue. I just saw a happy announcement that David Icke YouTube account is back on YouTube. I mean, that's like, I mean, he is the worst of the worst. I mean, he has been clobbered because his message is so controversial, right?
Yep. So anyway, this gentleman says, you know what? Everything is going to be private. If you want to be a part of it, you have to email me. I will add you to the list. And then and I'm assuming he's going to have a private community of some sort where people can interact.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that actually, interesting that you mentioned it, right?
Well, and it's also interesting that I got this email today, and the last couple of weeks, you and I have been discussing something that I thought maybe we should tease everybody about, and I will let you do the talking.
Okay. Well, Scott and I are already signed up as directors of this newly forming entity that is called Life Enthusiast Private Member Association. And a private member association is an entity that allows us to invite others to become members with us. And in this association, we are able to, through the contract law, communicate with one another in private, outside of the reach of the organs that are regulating commercial speech.
Yeah. In other words, we're going to private speech that is uncensored.
Yeah, because anyway, but it's behind a wall. It's actually called a paywall. You actually have to put in an initial payment. The contract needs to be sealed with a fee, some small fee, but it has to be an exchange of value. So all of you out there will be invited to be members. And when you enter through the paywall, you'll be on the private side, and I will be able to share with you what I know, but I'm not allowed to say. And you'll be able to tell me what you know and are afraid to say.
Or maybe afraid to say. It's kind of like right now we're in a public square, and there's a castle behind us, and up on one of the towers is the king, and he's looking down and he sees Scott and Martin, and he says, "Off with their heads," and causes all sorts of problems. And so we're going to be leaving the public square. I think we'll still do this, but it'll be
with
vanilla.
an invitation to join us
Right.
in our clubhouse.
In our clubhouse. That's right. We're going to have our own clubhouse, and you can join us, and we can speak freely without having to worry about. I mean, what's happening in the UK is absolutely ridiculous. Like
thousands of people in jail, Scott.
Yeah. Yeah. So there was a meme that I saw, and it was like, how many people did the Russians put in jail for bad posts on social media? It was like 10, right? And then they go through North Korea and so all these places, right? And the worst one was like 1,000 or 2,000, and it was like 27,000 for the UK.
Yeah.
And
they have gone mad,
pictures.
absolutely mad. And they're enforcing this wokeness, this correct language, which is exactly George Orwell embodied.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to learn to do the newspeak, and you have to very much do the language correctly. Right.
Yeah. And if someone says they're a they, them, and you call them a she, he, or whatever.
It's enough to get your head cut off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've seen that in Canada. We've had the trucker convoy, 2 people that ended up being spokespersons but not organizers. They were in solitary confinement, and their trial is finally over and everything. And but they've been in jail for like 3 years or however long it's been since the trucker convoy.
Yeah.
Whereas someone can rape a person, and the judge says, "Oh, yeah, no problem. Go back out on the street, because if I put you in jail, you're going to get deported. That's our law, so I don't want to deport you." And it's like crazy stuff that's going on. So anyway, this individual basically said I'm saying this part so that we can maybe in 2 months come back and revisit it and see if it's right. He says he thinks in 2 to 3 months there's going to be a massive shutdown, censorship thing going on. And of course it's going to look, it's probably not going to look like that based on, they're not going to sell it like, well, we're censoring you. They're going to be saying, oh, we have, this, we want to protect people. We want to do this for your safety. Everything is for your safety.
Well, I don't know, Scott. Astrologically speaking, the Great Gateway is coming in February, and it should be sunshine and roses after that. So,
well, maybe this is what kicks it out. Like maybe they try
something. It could be that somebody tries to just squeeze, and the reaction should be massive. Hell no.
Yeah. And we're seeing massive hell no's around the world. Like we've had Nepal, where the military joined with the youth and they kicked out the government. We've had the change. There was some other place where they just had Tanzania. They had the military and the people were storming the presidential palace and kicking the president out. And this is just not reasonable. So I think we're seeing people taking action and around the world, and hopefully they will continue to do that.
Well, remember we were talking about the astrology of it, and this next 20-year period that has started in November last year, which it's the same star alignment that was around when the Bastille was stormed in France and where United States has declared its independence, right?
Yeah.
So it's the 1770 something to 1790. If you could look back into history of that, we're in a rerun of that. First time since. Next loop.
Cool.
Yeah. So we'll have some restless sheep.
And I was going to say that every January, Martin and I get together and we talk about the astrological things that are happening, and we do a special episode. So go to our YouTube channel, scroll back to January this
Yeah.
year, and
Yeah.
see what he had to say, because it's always amazing how it's right on. You
Yeah.
look back
We
and go,
never,
wow,
yeah.
that's right.
We never know the exact how it's going to play out, but we sure know the timing of it and the weather.
And the weather, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of the weather, it's getting cold. The days are getting shorter. People are getting colds and flus.
Yeah.
We want to talk a little bit about
Well,
why this immunity thing drops.
let's talk about the terrain theory and the germ theory.
Yes.
So Pasteur put out back when 1880, I think it was, the germ theory, which said out there are horrible germs, and when they land within you, they will cause you endless amount of trouble. Or whatever they do, right? Like that was tuberculosis, of course, is a bacterium caused thing. Gonorrhea is a bacterium caused thing. Um, things that are caused by bacteria, they're obvious. They are coming from within, and the defenses will be assaulted,
Right.
very likely breached, especially if you are susceptible, which would be nutritionally and emotionally and immunologically weakened. And that's the terrain theory, which says when you allow it, the dangerous stuff that is all over, everywhere, always will breach through and take you down. Hence the terrain theory. And so we're saying those of us who are resilient will be walking through the battlefield unscathed.
And that's because we have a strong terrain in our digestive system.
Mm-hmm. Supported by the stuff. And the main support layers are microbes, strong microbials, right? People who are weak have a narrow spectrum. People who are resilient have a broad spectrum of all kinds of critters living in them. Yeah.
So our immune system, the general populace sees it as antibodies and T cells in our blood, in our bodies.
Mm.
Whereas when you're talking about the terrain, you're talking about like the terrain basically being the outside of us that's inside us, right?
Yeah, totally.
Right?
All the surfaces, especially, you see, it's called the mucosal barrier, and it's the lining of your nose and lungs, lining of your mouth and digestive system, all the way out to the tail end, and lining of the reproductive system. Much more area in women than in men, but that whole thing, that's a mucosal barrier, and it's semi-permeable, and it's protected by mucus, and that is also highly interactive with your iodine levels. So, for example, if you are low on iodine, your resilience will be down a lot.
Right.
So two strategies, right? One is strengthen the defenses. The other one is mobilize the attack. Right? So we have, for example, this tincture that we call immunogen, which when you take that, it's mobilizing your immune system. Yeah. And the mobilization of this immune system causes it to be more vigilant. I don't know. Do you want to dive into the killer cells and all of that, or should we reserve it for talking some other topics?
So Martin and I have been discussing some research and some discussions that doctors have had about stuff that's happening, the immune system. And what I want to do, Martin, is for us to do a special episode where we talk about all of that.
Okay. So let's tease people and tell them that we are going to soon do it and release it to the public.
Yeah, publicly release it. This will not be a private thing. But yeah, there's lots of concerns. And so we really need to take a look at. So first of all, I guess where we got to come from is you can make a difference in your your health, in your immune system, right? Like it's not guaranteed you're going to get the flu and be in bed for 3 days. It's not guaranteed you're going to get a cold and snuff and sniffle and everything else. But it's likely. And the reason that it's likely is you're not taking very good care of yourself. And we have our like 4 pillars of not taking care of yourself, right? We got stagnation, we have
toxicity and
malnutrition, and the third,
traumatic events.
And traumatic events. And this has happened to me a lot. It's like I'm normally very even keel, but there are times when I don't want to be even keel. Like my dad passed away. Perfectly appropriate to bawl my eyes out, right? I loved him. So, there is appropriate responses, and you just can't be an automation. And
you can't turn it off. And why would you?
And why would you? That's exactly right. It's part of being human. So there are times when I feel like, I can feel there's this stress and this situation is really affecting me. And the next day I have a cold. Right? So I associate it with, it's not the germs, it's had trauma and I have a cold, which is really different than I'm sick, right?
Yeah. Okay, so let's lay it out there. So we have the resilience, and it starts from the terrain, okay? So the terrain is where, listen, 80 or so % of your immune system lives at the interface between the mucosal barrier lining your gut and the blood side that is immediately on the inside of you. So the hostile tube that runs from your mouth all the way out to the back end, any terrain goes into that. You put food in and swallow this and that, and it could be infected by whatever. So long as the microbial mix living in that tube is resilient and broad and varied, you'll be fine. So you need to not kill it with chlorine, not kill it with glyphosate, not kill it with antibiotics, and you need to support it with polysaccharides, oligosaccharides, that sort of stuff. Those are fibrous things, right?
Can we say non-super processed foods?
Yeah, okay, yeah. The stuff that's removed from the processed foods, you need to put it back in.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, like basically we live in a place that has very, very bad diets. They've worked really hard on making stuff taste good, or even like alcohol that may not taste good, depending on who you are. You have to drink with your buddies, right?
Yeah.
So those are all things that are working against your health. And then and people wonder, well, why do you have heart attacks and why do you have strokes and why do you have all these things? Because you're doing all these things that are really bad. And in our 20s, we were fit and trim, and in our 80s, we got this huge spare tire sticking out of the front of our bodies. So,
yeah,
we need to do something about that. And unfortunately, you have to, take a stand. So, okay, so that's the terrain. What about the antibodies?
Right. So, yeah, the T cells. Okay, so we have two bits to the immune system. One is called innate, and the other one's called acquired. And the innate is broad and general and goes after the first assault. And the acquired is the one that is learning, and then it will remember things that came its way and know exactly and very quickly with highly precise weapons to take it down. So, for example, chickenpox is one such thing, right? You encounter chickenpox in your childhood. You see, the infant immune system is weak because it's learning to be, right? But by the time you're about 2 years old, you're out of your infancy and you're now ready to take on these things. And then you have your chickenpox and you will develop your immunity. And then for the rest of your life, you will never get chickenpox again. Except now we have an injection that will block this. It will give you an artificial rather than innate simulation of this of this resilience, right? Oof. Okay, the story is just, like I just start getting flooded with all the things that I need to say about this, which is the natural resilience. You have gone muted, Scott. The natural, Scott, you're muted.
I
You're
was going to say,
still
this
muted.
is why we're going to have the private square, so Martin can just blast away without having to edit anything.
Yeah. But anyway, so the artificially acquired resilience of the immune system is not nearly as good as the natural stuff.
Right.
Anyway, and then there's the rapidly mutating stuff. So we have not found any difference between what is named exosome and virus. And
What is an exosome? What is an exosome?
Something that your cell packaged and ejected.
Injected or
Ejected, like sort of threw up, like
threw
if
out.
you
Right.
if you
Like the
throw
garbage
it
bag.
out, yeah, it just like goes out, right?
Right.
And so here we are, you and I are talking. If we were in the same room, whatever as I speak, I'm spitting tiny little balls of my saliva and moisture and whatever's inside of me is actually being packaged and sent out into the room.
It's a garbage bag.
Well, and so as you're talking to me close, you're inhaling whatever I'm putting out,
Right.
and vice versa. So you're sampling my innards and I'm sampling yours. And we're exchanging this exosome information. And so it tells you what's going on inside of me and vice versa. And so now, if you label it virus, it's me infecting you and you infecting me. And it's my body will react to it, whether it's an exosome or a virus. It has no choice, because these things, if they're toxic enough to me, I need to learn to deal with it somehow.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, so I need my inner resilience and you need yours. And then we can safely communicate. Because if we don't have resilience, we don't get to have companionship.
Yep.
We don't get to play cards with our friends, or go to the pub, or go to the grocery store, or go to a concert. I mean, every time you gather as a humanity, church, if you will, in a group setting, everybody who's there is going to be spewing out their messages, and everybody's going to sample each other's messaging.
Right.
So the only thing that will protect you is your inner resilience.
So we can do some things to support our inner resilience.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about a couple of those things now.
Yeah.
And one of them is a beautiful little thing called Amazing O. And I'm going to bring up the page.
Yeah, that thing is really awesome. And what it does, it releases reactive oxygen species. This thing is a concentrate. And you can put this in a drinking water or inhale or whatever. What I do with it also is I have empty nanosoma bottles. They're exactly 1 ounce in size. And I put 12 drops of this concentrate into that, fill it with water. And then that spray is about the right intensity for me to spray in and on and within and without, all over anything. It has ORP of about 700 millivolt, meaning this: even the most resilient bacterium, E. coli, loses its integrity at 650 millivolt. So it cannot survive contact with this thing.
So another way of saying that is nature gives us things that will help us no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah, this thing is, what's interesting? This thing will release hypochlorous acid, which is the same acid that your white blood cell will release within you when it goes after an infectious something. that it wants to get rid of.
Yeah, our bodies are amazing.
Yeah, it's fantastically miraculous. You would almost think that it's designed by somebody very intelligent.
Just about. All right, let's talk about oregano, because I love oregano oil, even
Yeah.
though I cannot stand it. Does that make any
Yeah.
sense at all?
Yes, this thing is vile in its intensity and taste.
Yeah.
And it needs to be diluted. So even here, this is diluted in some oils or whatever. We have it available in drops and capsules and sprays and whatever. This is not the only form. If you go and type the word orega, whatever, you'll find all kinds of really cool things on our website.
Yeah.
And anyway, this is from Turkey. It's grown in the Mediterranean mountains, and it's exceedingly potent in its ability to undo viral, bacterial, and fungal problems.
And George says he drinks oregano 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man.
Well, yeah. If you have infectious issues, there's nothing better than this. I mean, nothing better. There are other tools, right? I just mentioned amazing. Oh, I could have mentioned silver, and here goes oregano.
Yeah.
Potent and wonderful.
Very, very good for you.
And the main deal here is this: microbes will develop resilience to antibiotics.
Right.
They cannot and will never develop resilience to these 3 things that I just mentioned: amazing O, silver, or oregano. 0. There is no such thing as MR anything. You know, MRSA, that stands for methicillin resistant Streptococcus aureus. It's one of the common bacteria that live in and on humans. Streptococcus is not a surprising thing. But when you find one that goes into the wrong place, like, for example, it's supposed to stay in whatever body part and gets up your nose, all of a sudden you have a strep nose or strep throat.
Right.
And if it's the variety that has developed resilience to even the most precious methicillin.
I was going to say, Martin, we run a fibromyalgia group on Facebook, have 167,000 members, and pretty much all of them have been at some point in time on some medication. And the result is they need more and more and more. So if it was 1 milligram, now they need 2 milligrams, then they need 4 milligrams, and they need 8 milligrams. And
before you know it, they've reached the toxic level.
Right. And then also they have to get off it. Right.
Well, because when you reach the limit, you've exhausted your options.
Yeah.
Right. And it's sort of like, Scott, it's a lot like putting on sweaters when it's cold.
Yeah.
At some point, you have put so many sweaters on, you can't move.
That's right. Or you can't put any more on.
Yeah.
And then they get toxic. And then it's kind of like, using your sweater analogy, it's like the third one starts on fire. They have you have side effects, right? And all of a sudden they have these side effects. So then they get a medicine to cover the side effects. And that doesn't help.
Yeah. George puts in all these awesome comments, like, for example, biofilm, right? The biofilm is the microbes' way of circling the wagons. They will find a way to embed themselves in the mucus in such way that it creates a colony that has layers of layers, and it all of a sudden becomes a film, impermeable, right? So all of a sudden, on the inside, you can't get to the inside. They live on. Anyway, there are just so many ways you can get sick. However, there are wonderful ways to get well.
Yeah. And I keep saying this, and I think I'm going to continue to say it for the rest of my life. Journal. what did you eat today? What did and how did you feel? What did you eat yesterday and how did you feel? And you start looking for patterns. And you have to understand too, as Martin has said many times, sometimes, like if you're eating bread, it might take 10 days for it to get out of your system. So you might feel okay for 5 days, and then 5 days you feel bad, but it was 10 days ago that you actually ate it. So, and of course, you're eating it every day, and it's going to take you a while to get. So then
the best example for this, Scott, is the Friday night pizza and beer.
Yes.
You live your healthy life, but every Friday night you go have your pizza and beer, and you're never out of the grip of the whatever allergy that comes or came from that combo. Right?
Yeah. So Celestial Soul asks about H. pylori.
Let me just answer it right now. The antimicrobial that we mentioned, amazing O. Okay. 12 drops in a glass of water for 7 days in a row.
And then see what happens so that we don't get kicked off of YouTube.
Yeah, let me know how your status is after that.
And there's also, so try that. And then here it is. Go to life-enthusiast.com/appointment. You can have a free 15-minute consultation with Martin. He'll listen to what you have to say, see what he can do to help you. And why wouldn't you do that?
Yep.
Because we really are here to restore vitality to you and the planet. So the products that we've talked about, they are in the comments. Thank you, Celestial. It's for a relative. I'll order today. Thank you. Yeah, and do let us know, what's going on and how it's helping and that sort of thing. It's really important. So with that, Martin, any last words on the flu season?
Detox, drink water, sweat a lot. Support your microbiome with humic and fulvic. We have this awesome product called Biome Magic. You can look it up. It's a combination humic fulvic. They will help with the terrain tremendously. And 1,000 different ways how you can screw it up. So
keep joining us. Watch the old episodes. You're going to get a PhD level education in functional health.
Hey, there's another one from Rachel.
Amazing O is truly amazing. It helped my husband so much. I first learned about it in 2020. I will always have it. Thank you, Rachel.
Yeah, I must tell you, we overnighted a bottle to a wife who was desperate, saying my husband's probably not going to last another 2 days.
Oh, no.
She gave it to him inhaled. He inhaled it on the first evening. The next morning, he asked for food. She did inhalation morning and evening. The next day, he got out of bed and went for a walk. And the third day after that, he went for a run. And this was a guy who was dying of the famous, 19. Yeah. Okay.
The disease that may not be named?
Yeah, the nameless 19.
The nameless 19. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that story. Yeah. Yes. George says success. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing what happens when you stop poisoning yourself, right?
Yeah.
So with that, thank you for joining us, Martin. Thank you for joining us, everybody. We really appreciate you. And make sure that you hit that like, the subscribe, and share this with your friends. We need to get this message out to as many people as we can. And we'll see you next week. So this has been the Life Enthusiast Health Shots podcast, restoring vitality to you and me. And Rachel says that's exactly what happened to my husband too. Yeah, it's like magic when you put good stuff in your body, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Land of tin.
Hey.